Dan Willis here, and we're talking about Midland funding and 3 tips to fight back against Midland collections. And first of all, Midland funding is a third-party independent collection agency. They're affiliated with MCM, or Midland Credit Management. They're located in San Diego, California. And the first tip here is lawsuits. Midland funding is notorious for filing civil lawsuits against consumers, meaning a real court of law will go in and sue you. And by the way, they have a less than perfect past. In 2009, they had an ex-employee admit to signing and being responsible for fraudulently signing up to 400 affidavits per day. That's the evidence that's used in a civil lawsuit against consumers. If you're being sued, experts say that 90% of all lawsuits from collection agencies result in a default judgment when consumers don't show up to defend themselves. If you get a default judgment on your credit report, your credit score will be annihilated, and you can possibly have your wages garnished depending upon the state you live. So the second tip here is actually the Statute of Limitations. You see, Midland Funding bought your debt most likely from another collection agency, and they're more of a late stage collection agency. You're only legally responsible for repayment for the vast majority of consumer debts, depending upon what state you live, so please check your local listings. But typically it's only 7 years. Then that debt is forgiven. It's forgiven, period. You're not responsible for it forever is the big point, and that applies to most consumer debts. Not all, but most. And of course, check your local residence for the exact amount of time. The third tip here, and we're going to include a link in the description below for full details about dealing with Midland funding in an article at our website. We have a free report available there as well, the 7 super simple steps to clean credit. So please visit and check out. The third step here is debt validation. If they're contacting you, sending you mail, please, and do this with any debt you have, validate the debt, because this is your right protected under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA. But what it's doing, you need to do this in writing using certified mail so you have evidence. But what you're really saying is, hey, you first prove this is actually my debt, and then we can talk about the possibility of repayment. If they don't validate your debt, then you're no longer legally responsible for it. And you may be surprised to hear this, but a lot of debt collectors will either not take the time or not have the actual paperwork, the evidence, everything in order to actually validate consumer debts. So you do have some options here. This is Dan Willis. We're going to include a link in the description below to an article for more details. At our website, we have a free report available there, the 7 super simple steps to clean credit. Please subscribe and join our congregation. Have a wonderful day, and looking forward to talking to you again here soon.